Hello everybody, my name is Alex Myers. I am a current senior at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. I am majoring in wildlife education with a minor degree in captive wildlife. The majority of my focus is regarding herpetological studies, which is the area of study that encompasses reptiles and amphibians. However, I do have a soft spot for birds. They quite literally bring me a lot of joy just seeing them in the wild, understanding their ecology and what they do. And through the Practicum Presents program, which is this program you're at tonight, as well as all of the previous Practicum student programs some of you may or may have not been to throughout this semester, we like to present to you various environmental, natural topics that you all get to be engaged with. And because what is not more fun than being able to spend some time outside and admiring all of the beautiful aspects that Mother Nature has to give us. With that in mind, as you most likely saw with the flyers going around campus or perhaps posted in the city, we are talking about owls this evening. So please, give a hoot about it. I encourage you to. So,
that's the first of many, folks. Don't worry.
The thing about owls is, aside from the obvious fact that they are nocturnal raptors or a bird of prey, is they actually provide immense benefits to us as humans through their acts as predators, providing pest control to us as humans. They also offer significant ecological balance as their role as predators. And believe it or not, we'll touch on this later, modern eye research done on owls actually benefits us as humans. We'll touch on that later. So to begin, one thing that I want to highlight is that with owls being a bird of prey, they have to be quite good at their job. And part of that is catching undesirable rodents. So this right here is an owl talon, specifically the leg of a great horned owl. And one thing that I want all of you to notice right away is the sheer pointiness and sharpness of these talons. And take a look at how the foot is heavily calloused. So many of y'all, say if you're like me in high school, you're hitting the gym. Not that I do it much anymore. You typically develop calluses on your fingers, and this is because you are lifting weights or climbing, and you're scraping up your hands, so therefore your skin is getting extra thick. In the case of owls, this serves as almost like a built-in shield. Believe it or not, prey rodents do not want to die. So if you are a predator attempting to capture said rodent, these calluses provide a little bit of bite resistance. Most notably in the case of some of our larger rodents, like eastern cottontails, which is one of the many prey species the great horned owl will go after. Smaller species of owls, such as our local barred owls, will actually tackle native rodents such as the redback bull, which you can see right here in Schmeekley, especially in the winter when there's less grass and cover for them. And even animals as large as striped skunks. Yes, you heard that correctly. Striped skunk, despite being a stinky and not desirable pest species, is in fact a frequent victim of predation from the mighty great horned owl. So even though the skunk may think he can spray, an owl actually, specifically a great horned owl, is not affected by the odor of the skunk, and they will take him down with extreme prejudice. You may be asking yourself, though, if owls are such big apex predators, and they're clearly benefiting us as humans by removing these undesirable rodent species, how do said rodents not get eaten? How do they try to avoid getting eaten? Well, rodents have massive ears. You guys have ever seen a mouse, ideally outside, but even I'll admit it, sometimes you find them in your house. That's not fun. You know how big their ears are? Seeing a couple nods out there. So a rodent typically wants to listen for a predator, especially at night, where if you look all around outside the pavilion, it's very dark out. You have to rely on hearing. The thing about mammals, specifically rodents, like you and I, is that when one sense is reduced, be it our vision our hearing, our taste, more of our energy and focus is put towards our other senses. So if you were to blindfold yourself, it might take a few minutes, but believe it or not, your hearing will actually improve to some extent because you're putting more energy towards hearing your surroundings since your eyes are not being used. Owls have to fight that. But how do they do it? It's a good question. I'm glad I asked that. So, I have got a couple feathers for y'all. If you would like to, feel free to look at this and pass that around the audience. So in my hands, I'm going to walk by each of y'all, is a turkey feather in my right hand, a great horned owl feather on my left. I want you all to look at these, and I'm also passing around that great horned owl feather so you can get a better in-depth look. And just think to yourself for a moment, what is something that stands out that is different between a turkey feather and an owl feather? Don't worry, folks. I'll be walking around the room real quick. All right. Feel free to keep passing around my other owl feather. Just with a quick show of hands, I'll call on a couple of people. What is something that stood out between an owl feather and the turkey feather? Yes, sir.
The feather's heavy on one side of the main center spot.
Gotcha. So, in the case of the owl feather, sort of heavier on this side.
See if the owl feather, the edges are free.
Frayed. Okay. Anybody over here? So you guys highlighted the main point. Aside from the obvious color difference, because one is an owl and one's a turkey, the owl feathers possess fringes, is a technical term, or a frayed look as you highlighted. So what does this do? Well, I have two volunteers that would like to help out with a quick activity. You two, wonderful. I need you to just hold this by the mouth and spin it really fast. Feel free to walk down spinning it so everybody has a chance to. Do you want me to do it now? Yeah, it's me.
Switched arms.
All right, thank you. Would you be kind enough to do the exact same thing?
Try not to hit yourself.
Thank you. Please give a round of applause for your volunteer. So what you may have noticed is this very whistling sound emitted by the rope. And that is because due to the lack of breakup, wind, or air itself, is moving around that rope and we can hear it creating that noise. Think like an old Western movie when they go to rope the cattle, right? With an owl feather, these fringes counteract this advantage that rodent species have. Because since their ears are more toned to listen, since their sight is limited at night, owls have evolved to be very quiet when they fly. And that is why, when our amazing volunteer walked down the aisle with this fringed rope, now you're just hearing my jacket whistling, but you can hardly hear anything produced by this. And it is a fascinating way that these birds of prey have quite literally worked around their prey's advantage in the dark. So aside from being these amazing predators through a couple of the adaptations you have just seen, owls themselves as a predator play a very important role in the natural area around you. Owls are a forest bird, so they thrive in wooded areas, with a couple species exceptions. If you head in the southwest, there are burrowing owls, which actually dig holes and make up use of holes in the ground. But for our owls that call Schmeeckley Reserve home, we have a menagerie of wooded areas for them to take refuge in. But how do they give back to their homes? That's the important question. Well, you see, they're already benefiting us as humans in the natural environment by getting rid of these pest species. But in the process, they are building their own homes. Now, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, they're not chainsaw certified, so they can't cut down a tree and build a house out of it. I know, it's really unfortunate. However, they give us this. Be amazed. Ooh, yes, ooh, exactly. So, feel free to pass this around. Owls, after they consume an unlucky prey animal, will digest this rodent, small bird, snake, amphibian, whatever have you. And as their stomach acid is breaking down all the good fleshy bits, they themselves cannot fully break down bones and fur. So in this box, which you are all passing around, is rodent bones and fur. I hate to break it to you, I did not spend my weekend picking apart a dead rodent and putting that in a box. The owls have done that for me, and they do it for the natural environment. They will cough up the remnants of their prey into a pellet that falls to the ground, and that in turn is adding nutrients to the soil for new trees and grasses and plants to grow. So while they're not intentionally planting an oak tree, through their acts of predation, they themselves are in fact returning nutrients to the soil to grow more trees and more plants to continue the growing of their home terrain. Indirectly, but also somewhat directly, affecting the natural ecological balance and order. I don't know about you guys, I think that's pretty impressive. Nature is wonderful. So before we get to our final topic, I can't blame you if you're tired of me blabbering around. Because I'm talking about owls, and we're here to hopefully hear one and interact with one. After all, we have all of Schmeeckley right here on the UWSP campus, or at least adjacent to it, even though it still counts. School's rules, not mine. So, we are going to go on a night hike. I will have a speaker with me, and we are going to play a couple owl calls. However, and if you guys don't mind with a show of hands, is there anybody here that has not heard an owl call before? All right, a couple of you. But for the most part, it makes me really happy that I've got a bunch of passionate bird enthusiasts here. So, there are two main owl calls we will play tonight. And I have two very fun ways of memorizing them, because when we are out on the trail, our goal is to be fairly quiet so we do not disturb any owls within the area. The first call I will play is a barred owl call. And I will play that right now for you all. But I'm going to play it at a lower volume so that way we possibly don't disrupt anybody hanging around. that is a barred owl call. Without a doubt, one of the most common and most prevalent owls within this area of Wisconsin, and specifically Stevens Point. So when we're identifying an owl by call, many ornithologists, ornithology being the study of birds, ornithologist being a person who studies birds, will use fun rhymes and phrases to memorize an animal, or specifically bird's call. So as a student, we like to go by the saying, right?
Oh, I don't know it.
You don't know it?
I don't remember.
I
it.
just told you. All right. So, who cooks for you? Which in my case would be my parents when I'm home. I'm a broke college student, and I don't think cooking ramen on the stove counts. Another good analogy for my fellow students who are here is your homework is due. It's especially ironic since owls are nocturnal, and many of us have midnight deadlines, and we typically submit our assignments at 11:59 p.m.
Yep.
So that would be your barred owl call. One of the other owls that occasionally can be heard throughout Schmeekly, and without a doubt one of the most charismatic and recognizable owls within all of North America, would be none other than the great horned owl. I would say it's easy to identify them because they have these beautiful tufts of feathers on their head that resemble horns. But since we're looking for them at night, good luck seeing one.
Yeah.
It's okay, we can't see in the dark that well.
What?
And I don't have night vision goggles. However, just like our friend the barred owl, we can in fact recognize them by their call. So this is the primary call of a great horned owl. So this call has another fun saying associated with it.
Yeah, I know this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Would you like to tell me?
Who's awake? Me too.
I think we're all awake.
Oh, I just had to make sure.
Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome, Alex.
Best assistant I've ever had at an interpreter program. Seriously, thank you though, Nate. He is correct. Who is awake? Me too. Is typically how many ornithologists will associate with trying to recognize the call of a great horned owl. Once again, it works well for us college students because many of us are emailing our professors at 3 in the morning. And if you're like me, you have in fact had a professor reply at 3:02 in the morning
That is
after
wild.
you send that email.
That's
So, who is awake? Me too. Another analogy many of you can relate to. So without further ado, let's go on our hike. I am letting you all know now that this hike will be approximately half a mile. We'll go about a quarter of a mile out into Schmeekly and then the walk back. I have flashlights if you do not have your own. However, I will encourage that before you use the flashlight, give yourself a couple minutes as we hike out onto the trail so that your eyes can adjust to the darkness, and that way we can be as least light emitting as possible to avoid disturbing owls. If you cannot walk in the dark, then I do ask that if you have a flashlight, you aim it at the ground in front of you, so that way we're not shining lights into the sky and potentially bothering some owls that we can hopefully get to call back. If you feel that once we're out on the trail that you are uncomfortable, you are too cold, and that you do not want to participate in the hike any longer, my assistant Nate, assistants Griffin, and Dr. Chris McCart over there can escort you back down the trail so you can heat up in the heated bathrooms.
It's what we got.
It is what we got. I'd say go into the visitor center, but it is currently locked right now. So, I have got 7 flashlights over here. If you would like to hold on to this light, Nate.
Yep.
I will hold on to this light.
I'm gonna go ahead and kill the lights, give us some time to adjust to the dark.
Well, if anybody would like to
Oh,
grab the flashlight, let's
do
let
that
them
first.
grab it first. I am going
Starts
to
now.
stand over at the end of this pavilion. If everybody is ready, if they could please give me a thumbs up. And once everyone is ready, I will have Nate cut the lights on the pavilion, and we will begin our hike. Awesome. With a thumbs up, can everybody hear me from here? Okay. We're going to walk back towards the pavilion, and we're going to try these calls again at a spot near the edge of the forest. See if there's any owls that are perched, maybe looking for food, that may give us a call back. Sound good? Thumbs up? Awesome. I will lead this side. With a thumbs up. Can everybody hear me from here? Thank you. Choosing the other arm. Okay. We are going to do the same call routine. Start with a barred owl. We are adjacent to this image habitat. We'll see if there's anybody home. Go over this way. One thing that I want to highlight before we wrap up is I am thoroughly impressed that I did not see a ton of flashlights while you were hiking. And so, jokes aside, seriously, that is amazing. But the thing about your ability as humans, mammals, is after our eyes have an adjustment period in a dark environment, our pupils will open up. And what this is allowing is our eyes to take in higher levels of light. So mammals have features in their eyes known as cones and rods. Cones allow us to see daylight, different colors, that whole sort of thing. We can look at a sunflower in the day and see that it is in fact yellow based on the way the light wavelengths are reflecting off of it. At night though, that is when rods go into effect, and they focus on absorbing light. And so, you might be thinking, how on earth does this matter to us as humans? Owls, being a nocturnal bird of prey, we wouldn't be looking for owls in the middle of the afternoon, have a majority of rods in their eyes. Now, ocular scientists, which are eye doctors, are taking data from owl eyes and using it to find ways to help humans with seeing issues. Those, especially people who are photosensitive or light sensitive, they can find ways to use owl eyes as a way to adjust human eyes, be it in medicine or surgery, so that we can see better. So while the first 2 points I highlighted at the start of this program involve how the owls physically benefit us, scientists are actually using the biology of the owl itself to further benefit us as humans. One way that maybe they don't directly operate on our eyes, but we are learning from them. It's kind of cool. Anyways, I would like to thank all of you for coming out this evening. I really hope you had fun. I do apologize that we didn't get to hear an owl call. That's why they call it birding, not finding. And truthfully, I do hope that through this program you get to walk away appreciating the benefits that owls serve people, given their niche as a predator, taking down pest species, the way they offer ecological balance, and the fact that we as humans are actually benefiting through the understanding of owl eyes to further research in ocular science. I will be sticking around the pavilion to answer any questions y'all may have. Once again, restrooms are directly up there to my left, and hopefully you guys do know that the parking lot is right there, even with the one light. Thank you so much for coming out, and have a great day.